Fisting. You've probably all heard about it, but in patch 0.3, it's coming to Path of Exile. With the introduction of Hollow Palm, we are finally going to be able to do unarmed builds. This tier list is going through all 17 ascendancies to see which ones will make adequate fisters, who the supreme fister will be, and which ones should probably just stick to missionary. Let's get right on into it. So the Bloodmage, as a Hollow Palm enthusiast, as a fisting Benasciado. Is that the right way to say that word?
What?
I think it is. But what are they going to bring to the table? Well, ultimately, it's not very much, even with the changes. They're getting a slight nerf to Gore Spike. That would have been okay. I believe Gore Spike, yeah, it's just critical damage bonus, right? Doesn't matter if it's spells or attack. It's critical damage bonus. That would have slightly affected Hollow Palm. We're going to be getting high crit with it. Critical hits, ignore monster armor. That is actually being changed to provide extra damage when your life flask reaches full charges. That would be a very slight increase, probably a little bit of something. And what else have we got? Open sores, that would be very minor boost, right? You're going to take off the first 15%, but ultimately this doesn't bring very much to the table. And with Gore Spike and Sunder the Flesh swapping around, you're going to have to take 2 ascendancy points you wouldn't even need to get to Gore Spike. Ultimately, don't think this is going to be much of a fister. The Invoker, that classic class, everyone knows it, everyone loves it, but how good's it going to be? I mean, he's using his hand, he's got his hands out. He's not quite the martial artist, but he's getting close. Brings quite a lot to the table, in fact an awful lot to the table for a Hollow Palm build. Lead Me 3 Grace is going to synergize completely with Hollow Palm because it means you're not going to be taking waste stats on any of your armor. You can focus pretty much purely on evasion, energy shield, because you don't need to worry about getting spirit lines, which typically take the place of some evasion and energy shield. So being able to get that huge bonus. I am the Blizzard, I am the Thunder, 10% extra damage as cold lightning, right? It's just an all-round good thing. Sunder my enemies, critical hits, ignore non-negative enemy monster elemental resistance. Okay, we're going to have skill gems to solve that now, but this allows us to equip more damage gems, and it's going to synergize with the extra crit chance, which at the top end we're going to be getting a lot of in Hollow Palm. So I think for endgame, Invoker's going to be right up there. And that's why a bit of deliberation between A and S tier, but I think this is definitely, in the end, an S tier. I wish there was more to say with this one, because there's an awful lot to read, but ultimately, when it comes to fisting, I just think there's nothing here that's really going to help, right? Riku effects, Unleashed, it's all cast stuff. All of this is cast stuff. Flood of Echoes sounds like it might be okay, but it's kind of like a Hex Blast. It doesn't really synergize or anything. I think, really, ultimately, this is a tiny hands. Not going to get the job done. So, the Deadeye. Probably the absolute meta class of the league, and it's got some changes that would affect it with regards to Hollow Palm. So, Avidity, I think we could ignore the Frenzy charges. That's not going to play too much into Hollow Palm, although you could use them to generate power charges, actually, which could get you charged staff. So these even could play into it. Mark effects, cooled shots is being changed. It's going to allow you to repeatedly cast marks as a meta skill, the only class that can do it. This would allow for some very good herald chaining. Eagle Eye, which is here, that's being changed to give stacks of critical weakness. That's going to give you more crit chance, right? That's going to synergize in quite nicely. And Gathering Winds and Wind Ward, as a melee class, this might fall off a bit, but the changes to cooled shots and Eagle Eyes are very, very good. Definitely very, very good. And you could grab Avidity for extra power charge generation with Resonance. Ultimately, probably going to be okay. A tier. It's not going to be S tier, I don't think. I think there's going to be better ones out there, but it's definitely up there. The darling of 0.1, the Gemling Legionnaire. Oh, how far you have fallen. But would you let him in the bedroom for a night of passionate fisting? That's the real question. That's what we're answering here today, of course. I'm done. I'm just going to call it Hollow Palm from now on. I promise. Anyway, there's a few things here that are they're not too bad, right? We've got quality of skills into all skill gems, which we can get probably a couple of levels there, right? That's going to help. We know that Hollow Palm scales off of Skill gem levels for fizz damage, so any plus levels we can get is going to be good. We're not going to be able to get them from a staff after all. We won't be wielding one, so the +2 levels there would be rather tasty. The quality of all skills, that's going to be good, especially for something like Temper Spell, which has got a very nice scaler now from its quality, giving more fizz damage. With regards to the actual changes, Advanced Thaumaturgy, probably not going to be that great. It's generating a power charge every 8 seconds. There's going to be much better ways of generating power charges than that. Gem-studded notables, situationally good. Maybe the blue skills have less cost, but ultimately probably doesn't seem like it's going to be a particularly good pick. What we might be looking at is... yeah, definitely the implanted gems and crystalline potential. That has some potential. And the extra max resistance is nice for tank. You'd probably go up for enhanced effectiveness though, and double the attributes. Overall, nothing really standing out as amazing. I think it's distinctly average B tier. The Infernalist. This is actually the first character I played in 0.1. It was certainly a thing. Couldn't see the screen. There's fire everywhere. But as honestly, as far as small handing goes, she's just got small hands, right? Nothing here synergizes or helps Hollow Palm. This is not a Hollow Palm enjoyer. So the Lich, not the worst. Some of its ascendancy power would work with Hollow Palm, but would I suggest it? I don't think so. Changes this league are very much about spell damage. They're not changes to anything that would affect any sort of melee damage. Dominion over Flesh, which was here it is. You can curse hexproof enemies. It's now hex have infinite duration. That's okay. That's probably not going to be of any real help, right? So what have we got that could do something? We've got the Crystalline Phylactery. That's okay. If there's some unarmed gems that get put in, that could be quite good. Obviously, going down to Eternal Life, you can do some funky stuff with that, but nothing jumps out the box, jumps to mind about, okay, yeah, well, you could do this synergy. I don't think there's anything broken there. So the only thing you've really got is down to Blackened Heart, where you get extra chaos damage per mana, which is going to boost your damage, right? I think for that reason, it's not a small hands. Probably going to put it in C tier, right? It's definitely below average, but it's not the bottom of the barrel. So then the Pathfinder, probably not going to be one of the best characters for this at all. It has some synergy, some relevant nodes on the Ascendancies. Traveler's Wisdom is going to get you 6 passive points, right? You can't really argue with that. Overwhelming Toxicity, doubling the number of poisons. You might be able to get somewhere with poison, but you're going to be going all over the tree to get enough poison nodes that you're just going to not have any points left over for anything else. Running Assault, Relentless Pursuit, I mean, they're okay, but they're not really that great. The concoctions, although these have been changed to inflict exposure and things, you could use them alongside Unarmed, I guess. No weapon and throwing your potions. It's kind of thematic, I suppose, but that's about it. But honestly, gotta be C tier. There's nothing here that really helps. Stormweaver, very good in 0.1. Fell off a bit in 0.2, but is she going to be handy with the hands? That's the question we're trying to ask today. Answer. We're trying to answer that. Anyway, we've got a few things here, actually. One just on the right side of the tree, and two, a few things here that might actually synergize. The Strike Twice and Shaper of Storms, double shock chance, right? That's going to be good. Extra shock, extra damage, that's going to be fine. Damage taken as elemental shield, I believe that's changed, and it now... Yep. So we're going to get more chances for a lot more elemental infusions as well, with Heart of the Storm generating elemental infusions, and Scouring Winds also helping with remnants that you create. So there's an opportunity there to just be constantly having fire, ice, lightning, remnants, and therefore I believe they charge up the all elemental skills, so they should affect any quarterstaff skills that have an elemental base. So there's probably something there you can do. I think it'd be a little bit better than below average, but I don't think it's... You could do it if you want to. To me, probably going to be sitting around the B tier. Definitely not going to be as good as a Deadeye, but not as bad as a Gemling. Hope you guys are ready for the quick fire big money round. We're on to the Warriors. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a grouping one here, and we're going to start with a theme. We're on the wrong side of the fucking tree, right? That's your number one problem. We're over here, And Hollow Palm is over here, which means we've got to go all the way around to get to Hollow Palm. Okay, that's the first big problem that plagues all three of these trees. But as I said, this is the quickfire big money round. So what's wrong with the Smith of Katava? Well, you have to wear normal body armor. We're not going to be able to get enough evasion or energy shield. Right? That's just not going to work, right? The Warbringer. This is pretty much all to do with block chants and totems. We're not going to be able to use those. We're unarmed. And like values from shield, the only thing you can maybe get is a bit of armor break. Pretty pointless, in my opinion. And lastly, we've got... Hang on. Do I get this? No, that is the Warbringer. This is the Titan. And then we've got the Titan. So the Titan, I guess we could argue the Titan is slightly better because you've got the chest and the increase of small passives. That's nice. We're not going to get any input from the armor. We're not going to have slams and aftershocks. We could take the more life and we could take hits of crushing blows. So there's some ascendancies here that we would take, but we're still on the wrong side of the tree. Ultimately, all these guys, absolutely small hand gang. Might be the biggest character model. Definitely got the smallest hands. Burn her. She's a witch. Burn her on the stake. And all that. Witchhunter, of course. That's what we're talking about next. So, a bit of a mixed bag about this one. Some of it's just like the weapon set skill points and stuff. I don't think we'd really care, but things like Zealous Inquisition is just going to help with clear. Pitless Killer for Culling Strike, then Decimating Strike, which works at the top end of the health. It's just going to be pretty good. And yeah, No Mercy and Witchbane just seems like it would just be a flat damage increase. So there's just a whole bunch of damage here that we can get, which and some AoE clear. I don't think it's a bit of a tough one, really. I feel like I should have made more tiers, because I don't feel like it's quite as good as the Deadeye, but I certainly feel like it's better than the Gemling. But I think I have to put it in A tier. I'm going to have to put it alongside the Deadeye. It's on the right side of the tree. Got some good ascendancies that are just going to flat increase damage. I think it would be absolutely fine. Oh, now we're into the heavy hitters. Now we're here. Chayula Monk. So this character's getting... Ascendancy is getting basically completely overhauled. The top part, Ravenous Doubts, that's going to be about creating volatility. Consuming Questions is going to be about proliferating elemental ailments using chaos damage. Embrace the Darkness is getting a small buff. Grasping Void is going to grant the skill Void Illusion, which leaves a little ball that explodes when it takes damage once you dodge roll, which is just fine. Into the Breach is going to give us better remnants, and Lucid Dreaming is going to allow us to pick our remnants. So basically, with all the attack speed from Hollow Palm, we're going to be able to do something I believe quite silly with Ravenous Doubts and Consuming Questions, which will be Inner Turmoil and Unraveling. I believe between those we're going to be able to get to 200 volatility reasonably easily with the skill gems and stack up shitloads of chaos damage. This character absolutely going to be an S tier fister. This is going to be my league start fister, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to fall back to the Invoker. Tactical fisting. I said I wasn't going to do the fister, but there's been some time between when I recorded the first half of this and the second, hence the light change that happened some time ago. Anyway, Tactician. There's a whole slew of words written here. None of them matter. We don't need those. And then when you look at this tree, none of this matters. Multiple banners. Allies, I don't care about my allies. I'm trying to punch people. Suppressing fire. These aren't projectiles, right? These are fists. Polish that gear. I'll polish something. Yeah, it's just absolute tiny hands moment. Tiny hands lad. You can see his tiny hand there. That's where he goes. Going in the tiny hands section. Unleashing our inner Val now, of course, with a Ritualist sacrifice. Ritualist into all the sacrificing and things, assuming that's Val descendant, but they might just be into like Celtic folklore or something, considering it's a deer and not a person. However, what can we do with this? So there's a couple of changes. As the Whispers Ask is now rolled into as the Whispers Demand, and Wildwood Persistence has had a slight buff. But what we're mainly looking at here is the extra ring slot and Mystic Attunement, effectively giving you 1.75 more rings without having a weapon. So much flat damage is going to be coming from rings. I think this is going to be very, very, very strong for the build. I think just these nodes alone are going to make up for not really wanting to pick anything else. So I'd be going Unfurled Finger, Mystic Attunement, probably looking up at Corrupted Life Force, maybe. Just try out Wildwood Persistence, I guess. Or just as the Whispers Demand, as now it's all together. The Corrupted Life Force as the Whispers Demand, and grab attributes Mystic Attunement. I think you're going to have a really good time, honestly. to me, Ritualist is going to be S tier for this, purely because of the ring slot and the extra flat that we're getting from there. It's going to be huge. All right, last up, we got our girl from Barnsley. It's the Amazon. And there's not much on this tree we can really make use of. Yeah, we could be consuming power charges, but they infuse projectiles. We wouldn't be using projectiles. Predatory Instinct and in for the kill, yeah, that'd work. Critical Strike, which is getting a nerf, well, yeah, we could make use of that by stacking accuracy, but we're never going to be able to make use of Penetrate, and the defensive options just aren't getting changed. They're kind of bad. You couldn't really make a tree around this that is really going to work. The best you could probably do is Critical Strike, Predatory Instinct, in for the kill, and then a defensive, and I just don't think it's going to work particularly well. You will end up having to stack accuracy as well as other stats, struggling for spirit. Definitely a small hander, I'm afraid. And there we go. The girl from Barnsley. Bottom of the barrel. And there we have it, guys. There's my full and complete tier list for Hollow Palm Ascendancies going into patch 0.3. Hope you have enjoyed this one. A lot of fun putting it together. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps. If you're not subscribed yet, get subscribed. We're going to be league starting into something that's probably going to end up Hollow Palm. Likely a Chayula monk. Degenerate streaming from the 29th until about the 12th. So hope to catch you there. And yeah, have a good one, guys.